She's gonna silence you.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're.
You might be the best thing.
You're done. That recording.
You're now recording. Oh. You're now recording.
All right, I can open it.
Yes.
Welcome for the Topsham Planning Board. Please call the roll.
John Scan,
Present.
Terry Lickford, present. Ronald Bisson,
Present.
Barry Brand,
Present.
Dan Flag,
Present.
Scott Libby,
Present.
Andrew Muncy,
Present.
and Julie Erdman, our town planner, is at the table.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so. Yeah, the minutes from the January 26th, 2023 meeting. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the minutes of January 26, 2023 as submitted.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor? All right. Good, thank you. All right, so we're moving to sketch subdivision site plan for Park Drive Lot 12 LLC. Has submitted a proposed subdivision / site plan for 20 unit apartment building at 100 Park Drive, tax map R05, lot 21D, 18 and 19. So Chris, you're going to lead off.
Yes, I'm here with Dan Catlin, the owner, and Mitch Razor, he's the landscape architect. Can I share my screen?
And so you have everyone here, anybody remote presenting anything on the project?
Not that I'm aware of it. Hi there, my name is Chris Blazer. I'm here representing Danny Catlin and his 100 Park Drive project, Park Drive Residence project, next to Goodwill. Give you some project facts. We're going to redevelop the Goodwill site and the adjacent pad site. Previously, the pad site, there's a 25,000 square foot building that was approved. I'll show you a picture of that in a second. Parcel area is about 5.1 acres. We're proposing four-story, 20-unit buildings for 80 units total. And we're working with Mitchell Razor to develop the landscaping and the landscape architecture. The plan that we're going to show provides 182 parking spaces, 1.5 spaces per unit for the apartments, and about 62 spaces for the adjacent Goodwill site. Here's some existing photographs of the area. You will look at the left side is the entrance off of Park Drive and the access drive running along or parallel with the road. That access drive connects to Merriman Way. More photos of the parking lot that's been installed. This is the approved building back in 2005, I believe. A couple things I want to point out. The existing shaded area in the middle was the proposed building that wasn't built, but the adjacent parking lot all around it was. So the infrastructure, the parking lot is installed as those pictures represent. I'll also point out that the entrance drive is located along Park Drive in the front and the back. And the slopes in the back really were developed to respect the 25-foot setback area adjacent to Mount Woods. We can go back to that anytime. This is the plan that we get submitted. Talk about the grading in the back for just a second. We're trying to respect the 25-foot buffer that was originally approved. We do know that that slope is ledgy, so the graded slope that we show is actually going to be steeper when you get to the field. So this next slide shows the grading in the back with a ledge type of cut. So the intent here is to preserve that existing buffer as best we can. So the grading we've got proposed as a ledge cut really tries to preserve the buffer that's there. The original plan also talked about utilities, water. We had separate utilities going into the site, one for each building. That's what they typically require. But we did talk to the water district, and they're gonna allow us to do a single 8-inch main coming into the site, and we'll tie in the buildings to that. Previous plan also showed some sewer extensions. We were proposing a manhole in Park Drive, a new manhole in Park Drive. And we would extend an 8-inch line to the site and connect all 4 buildings to it. There is one existing service stub that's roughly right in the middle of the site. It's a 6-inch size. So I've been talking with the sewer district about this. They are suggesting maybe you just take out the 6-inch pipe, put in a new 8-inch right at that location, and maybe we save a manhole in the street. So we're still working out those final details. I believe those were most of the changes that have been made since we submitted that plan. This is the floor plan, the architecture. That was in your package. We've got some updated elevations. Basically, it's the same elevation with the exception of the center window area that's running up the stairwell. The old plan had 3 bay windows there, and we reduced it to 1. That's just another perspective. We had some renderings created. The right side of the screen is Park Drive. That gray stone look area is the new sidewalk we're going to put in. And you can see the elevations and looks of the buildings. Right now, we've got the buildings the same color, but they may be different colors when we're done. Different perspective views. This is looking down on it from Mallet Woods or on the Mallet Woods side. Not from Mallet Woods, in the air. This is the north side of the Merriman Drive side. Give you some idea of what you would see there. This is standing in the parking lot looking at the buildings. And the next slide, this is the existing buffer as you see it in January, not in a non-summer area. So there's 3 lots above the site. I understand Dan has talked to a couple of those residents. I think he's got one more to talk to, but you can see visually what's there now in a winter condition.
So just pointing on that slide, the buildings are gonna be in that green grassy, or I should say grassy,
exactly
snowy
right.
area.
I'm trying to maintain the existing pavement as best I can. We did have to widen it a little bit to make it work, but we're trying to maintain those utilities if at all possible. So Mitchell is gonna come up, his next, I think the next slides are gonna be his. And he can speak about landscaping. He's also got a nice section view between Mallet Woods and the site to look at.
Thank you.
Arrows,
Yeah, thanks.
up or down.
All right. Well, hi, thanks, Mitchell Racer, I'm landscape architect of the project. Happy to be here tonight. I was gonna walk through 2 things, the basically the general site plan and our proposed landscape plan. And then a cross section which places the building in the context of the adjacent neighborhood, so you can get a sense of the scale and the distance between proposed development and the existing developments up on Mount Woods. So this is,
Next slide.
oh, this is, yeah, that was our landscape plan. If you have questions about any of the details in there, we can get into that. But this is our landscape plan. I guess you can see that, and I'll also just talk to the board here at the same time. So you saw some of the 3D rendering, which helps sort of
Hang on
bring
a
this.
sec. Was the Al picking up over there? Or is he-
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. I'll stay here. Thanks, appreciate that. Those 3D renderings that Chris showed are helpful to sort of see the, sort of the site and the proposed trees, but starting on Park Drive, we already have a sort of front lawn type condition because of the big lawn area there. That's also sort of a gentle detention basin area and a row of existing maples that create sort of a street tree feel already. And those trees we can maintain. So there's a nice sort of mature row of trees that'll stay there and continue to grow. And then, as I was saying, there's sort of that front lawn look in front of the buildings that gives it sort of a residential character and sort of just that nice sort of clean look to that area. And then we push the buildings up towards that sort of front lawn as best we can away from Mount Drive. And so as you come into our site, either off of Park or off of Merriman, you enter into the two parking areas. And we've reinforced that loop around it per the fire chief's wishes. And then all around sort of the building is that parking area with the trees planted within the parking lot. And then right as you get to the buildings proper, there's sort of like a little oasis or courtyard gardens between the four buildings. So when most of the units will have the afforded views sort of right out of their units, either into the trees or down into that courtyard area. So it sort of creates a bit of a sort of refuge in the middle there. There's walkways, a range of street trees, and sort of gathering areas and garden areas, and then bike racks at each of the main entrances to the buildings, because we want to, people be able to walk to places here or drive, but we also want to encourage people to bike in the area if they can. And then as you move sort of further back into the site away from Park Drive, you sort of have that existing paved area that Krista showed a picture of, and that slope. And we're trying to maintain that slope. And that buffer, there's actually a 50-foot buffer in the back of the property, 25 feet on our site and 25 feet. Is that right on the on mounts? And that buffer in actuality is about 60 feet. It varies a little bit, but per the site plan requirements for mixed use commercial. Sorry, we're along these edges here. There's along those edges, the side and the rear buffer. You have standard in the ordinance per 100 lineal feet of frontage. You have to have certain mix and size of types of trees for buffering and landscaping. So this plan along the side and the back is, was designed to meet those standards in the ordinance. I should mention though that along the back of that buffer, we show the landscaping in there, but that will have to be field adjusted to work with those trees. I sort of show the raw numbers, but in reality, those will all have to be field adjusted to work with the existing. We don't want to destroy any of the existing vegetation, so we're going to have to sort of weave in around it and working around it. But you do have that about 60 feet of buffering, and then this additional buffering is gonna help that.
We'll go. Oh, there you go.
And I can put this one too. And I know at the last meeting, there were some questions sort of about the scale. Sorry, at the last meeting, there's some questions about the scale of the buildings and their sort of proximity to the existing development. So here are in this section, you can see the two buildings that are 45 feet tall to mid-eve, I think 49 to peak, but as measured, and you can sort of see them in relationship to Park Drive to the right, and then to the far left of Mallet Drive. And there was a dimension that people wanted us to address, and that's the back of those existing residences on Mallet. And that's 180 feet across to the proposed buildings through that buffer. And then there's sort of that step down with the ledge condition across parking, the two buildings, and then the detention basin and Park Drive. So this gives you a sense of can people see the house on Mount Drive? It's a little light. Okay, so make sure you can see that. And that's sort of the proximity and the scale and what someone might see sort of if they're looking out the back window or, sort of a filtered view through those trees. The proposed buffer plantings, they're a little bit lower down. So over time, hopefully they'll grow up and be a little more effective. So we're sort of fighting the terrain there as it drops away a little bit. But that's the nature of the situation. So that's the landscape and cross section in summary. And you want to wind it down? Thanks.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
We're just about at the end. There is one waiver we're requesting in the application. It's relative to 175-12C. It's parking between the Merriman Way and the buildings. We're hoping that we can maintain the infrastructure and the parking that's already there. We did try to centralize the 4 buildings based on staff review and comments. So we're hoping that the waiver is agreeable to the board. And basically, that's the end of
Okay, can you pull up the parking picture?
the parking picture.
Well, just the site plan.
Okay. Here's the site plan.
Chris, can you explain the added parking?
Oh,
Future
yes,
growth.
I apologize. We show 182 parking spaces on the site right now. We expect that we're gonna phase the project. We're gonna build the first 2 buildings closest to Merriman Way. So initially, we don't think we're gonna have parking issues. Ultimately, when all 4 buildings are built, we may need all of the parking. But I've got 20 spaces available in the orange that we're hoping we don't need to build, or we don't need them. But in the event it's at full build out and we need the parking, that area is available if we need it.
This, another point, I think is that we're at 1.5 per unit, the ordinance requires 1, but we've built in a little buffer there, for safety, so it's, we're above what's required.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
And just for clarification, those 20 spots are above and beyond the 182?
No,
Or
no,
included?
that includes
That
the
included.
182.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what the orange was, but that's,
We think we're gonna share the parking between Goodwill and the apartments, so there may not be a need for those 20 until the very end, and maybe not.
so again, just for everybody, in particular the audience at home, show where the waiver request kicks in.
Okay, very good. Basically between Merriman Drive, which is right here, and the building, we've got that parking lot here that requires a waiver.
Okay, so I guess, let me just ask a question and I'll open up the board. So we have all the buildings in the center, and you showed the sidewalks on the edges. What's the pedestrian, I guess, flow across to access the sidewalks and so forth from the building?
Okay, I've got a sidewalk connection on this side connecting into Merriman Drive. There's a sidewalk there now.
Yeah.
We are gonna install a sidewalk along the frontage of the road. And the sidewalk on this side will connect to the entrance and walk down to the sidewalk at Park.
Where there's a proposed bus stop or a transit stop.
Yes, potentially.
Platform.
Okay, so when you say to the entrance, is there a sidewalk on the entrance?
There is a sidewalk on the entrance drive right here.
Okay, so you're connecting to both sidewalks there,
Yes.
and you're gonna direct traffic from both buildings as far as pedestrian, not to cross through the parking lots, but to go.
We would encourage that. I guess they're gonna do what they do, I suppose. But
But people have to walk to their car, besides that, there's the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
if they're walking from the apartment.
So I guess I won't put you on the spot, Carrie, since I did last week or 2 weeks ago. Scott, do you want to start? Do you have questions or thoughts?
No, I mean, my main question was just to get a handle on where that accounting was for the 20 extra spots. I just have just a random question. I thought last time, and it has less to do with the plan, just interest, that you were talking about 4 1-bedroom and 1 2-bedroom per floor. It really kind of look, I think from that layout, it looks like basically 4 1-bedroom and kind of a studio
Yeah.
1-bedroom.
That's because of the elevator.
Oh, I guess
It's
that's.
the first floor.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, after you get to the second, third, and fourth, it's 1 studio, 3 1-bedrooms and 1 2-bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, for the record, that was Dan Catlin speaking.
Sorry, I should have done that.
Thanks, and just because I was looking at the plan and maybe not listening as well as I should have, Chris. Towards the park side, I see the sidewalk clearly going to Merriman, curving down. It also looks like there's a sidewalk on the Goodwill side doing the
Yes,
same thing.
there
Okay,
is.
okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, any questions?
No.
Gary?
There are elevators in each of the units?
Yes,
Do you have a freight elevator or just a regular?
regular elevator, it's good for 3,500 pounds, that's where all
So
the
they
freight
can move
goes.
in with couches and all that stuff?
Right, you put pads on the walls and.
Yeah, that's what we
elevators
used to do. Yeah, that's cool.
and Move all their stuff out.
All right, any questions?
I was curious about the landscape plan because. Between the four buildings, there's something on the landscape plan that looks like it's shaded in red. I wasn't sure what that's depicting.
Sure, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so in the center here, I can walk back. Between the buildings it's mainly a landscape area, but we did create some walkways through there, so you can, each building has a back door as well as a front door.
Right,
And so you can walk out the back door and walk into a garden area. And in the center is like a little plaza area that you could sit, there's some
okay,
benches, you
so
can
it's
hang
not
out.
hardscape.
Yeah, there's a mixture, it's mainly, basically garden area, landscape, but there is some hardscape in there. So you can sort of walk from building to building through your back doors if you're going to visit a neighbor or something, or you can hang out there. Or kids can be down there, and somebody can look out a window and watch on them, so it's sort of a real user-friendly type of situation.
I was also curious about the lighting, because you have a photometric plan for parking lot lights.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the building lights on there for like entrances. What are you proposing for that?
Well, I don't know, but I assume there's soffit lighting.
Yeah, each of these buildings has a soffit that comes over the front door, and we would, on both front and back. And we would have recessed lighting in both locations of each building. So.
And I do have a photometric plan with a catalog cut that we'll submit next time. I might have it here. But I hit it.
Yeah.
So Chris, while you're looking that up.
Yeah.
Just a question, I'm just going back to the staff memo. You mentioned waivers, and the only waiver right now is regarding parking. There isn't a waiver in regards to plantings. Okay,
We weren't planning on one.
well, I'm
Dan,
not
what-
offering it either, I just read this.
I will suggest that the plantings seem a little excessive on that buffer area. So we're kind of hoping we can supplement what's there. But maybe do we have to build them all if you don't need to? I guess maybe some flexibility would be
Right,
good.
that's a good point. You may physically not be able to fit all of them that are required by the ordinance. I mean, we may find there's too many existing trees. So that'll be a field adjustment. We can review that with staff in the field. if we need to.
I do have the photometrics here, and what they use for their, lighting.
Yeah.
Site lighting. It's, downward facing, it's, cut off luminaire.
Anything else? Sir, Larry.
Chris, could you go to the picture that shows the view toward Melwood?
Okay. Want to see the picture?
Yeah, the one, there you go.
Basically, I used two photos that Dan took together, perspective view, so there are two photographs there.
Okay. Yeah, I can just, and that drawing helps. My concern before was, are the buildings going to be towering over, essentially over the trees?
Yes, yes.
So that scale was very helpful.
Basically, Forest Glen Lane is on the left side of the sheet. That's about the elevation of the existing road. That existing house with a walkout basement is there. So the roof lines are pretty close if you look at them. The first floor of that house is probably looking at the fourth floor of the apartment.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
I think you have that, didn't we get that in the
We have
last
that.
email? So, yeah.
Yeah, and the picture helps because I haven't seen what's actually there for live trees, but. Yeah, I would say landscaping, if you can put something for the low stuff, then that accomplishes the purpose.
Perfect.
Yeah. But my other questions have been answered.
Thanks, Larry.
I'm all set.
Ron,
Is there a hydrant on the site or is it the one close by on the road?
There's a hydrant at the existing entrance off of Park Drive near Goodwill there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide that entrance down about 20 feet, so I may or may not need to rebuild that hydrant. Yeah, there is one there.
Okay.
okay, I guess the other thing I'd ask you to do is just, for the record, make a comment about parking. And not parking for traffic.
Okay, there is a letter in the application that Diane Morabito had did. I really don't want to speak of it. There, we didn't trigger any DOT traffic laws and we're less than 100 peak hour trips. So beyond that,
That's why, just for the record. Yeah. There was a note about that.
it's in the application as a letter.
Okay,
And I think the other idea of getting Diane to write that letter, is she calculated the fee. And I think it was $7,700 based on our trips. So the other thing I meant to ask you was, do we pay that, since we're phasing it, do we pay that per building? Do we divide that by 4? I just want to be clear on that. I would think we would pay it divided by 4.
I think we'll get staff's recommendation on that. We'll go forward with
All
that.
right, that's good.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Do you have anything else for us?
Nope, we're hoping you give us some feedback on the waiver. And this is preliminary plan review. So, we're hoping at the next meeting, we could get like a preliminary and final sign.
Well, I guess from my perspective, I don't see an issue with the waiver, but does anyone here?
I mean, I think with the landscaping you have over there, it helps meet the idea of, what we're trying to do with those corner lots to maybe be able to block off some of that from Mary.
Mary,
You want to say Mary meeting, right?
I want to say Mary.
Right.
And also, we kind of broached the subject about the landscaping in the back, and there may obviously not be enough space there, but I don't think we want to go the waiver route with that. I think it's things to talk to staff with to do it on site, just because of the importance of trying to have a little more buffer.
And they're doing it right. I think that's
we understand, as long as maybe during that process, we can review it, that's what we can do.
other.
No.
No,
I look at your frontage as being on park, so
So do we, yeah.
I don't really have a problem with the waiver of the second.
Awesome, thank you.
okay, all right. So, and any other questions for us? We don't vote on anything tonight. At least that's my understanding.
Thank you.
All right,
That's
thank
good,
you,
Chris.
appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Okay. All right.
Susan, I had like 2.5 hours. You can go there.
See that.
And they both have the block.
Hey, that's- that's- So very free. What am I doing?
Even though you packed up. Okay, so let's move on to adjourn, and then if there's any But question. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All right. All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned. Go ahead.